I'm Veronique.
And I'm Sylvia.
Welcome to the High Vibes and the Mind podcast,
where multicultural moms connect.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the show. This is High Vibes and the Mic podcast. This is Veronique. I'm with Sylvia, and today we're going to talk about tarot. So we have a guest. Her name is Miriam, and she combines her skills, sensitivity, and knowledge into every project she works on. She has written 2 spiritual-based books as well as an ebook on social media influence, as she used to be a social media manager. Not long after her daughter was born, Miriam also studied astrology, numerology, and other esoteric science. And Miriam also suffered from depression and put a lot of energy into raising awareness about depression. She wants to see the stigma disappear. The only way is through awareness. Miriam's main focus today is mediumship, astrology, and the tarot. So let's talk about tarot today.
So Miriam, thank you for being here with us today to talk about tarot and more and other things as well. So you mentioned in your bio that you experienced some very traumatic or something that really affected you, like a big experience, a big event in the past that impacted you. Can you describe a little bit about what happened?
Yeah, okay. So this is a long story. So I'm going to go back into my childhood. I was the sensitive, awkward one, always struggled with my weight. So, of course, I was scapegoated and bullied. And I was so desperate for people to like me and to accept me. So I did not even focus on my needs. I didn't know what they were. And I was made to believe that they didn't matter either. So I sacrificed myself. I sacrificed my entire being to make other people happy. Okay. So anyway, I basically lost so many opportunities because I was an extreme people pleaser, which is known as echoism. All right. So my catalyst was let's maybe talk about what happened before that before I get into the catalyst. So I did end up marrying. He's also a very extreme people pleaser, and it really frustrates me because he doesn't want to change his ways and I can't force him to. And I just have to put it out of my mind. And, anyway, we have 2 kids. One has one has complex special needs, some severe ADHD with autism combined. And he wasn't diagnosed, but we're pretty sure he has oppositional defiance disorder too, and very smart and manipulative. And, I did everything I could to get him the therapies he needed and all the help he needed, but he was really good at manipulating us and did not want to work with us. We tried to do what the therapist said at home, and it just wasn't working. And he was just stagnating because it just turned into a very bad environment. I was becoming more and more burned out. I was so depressed, I became almost catatonic. I ate myself to 300 pounds, and it was a very dire situation. My daughter was getting lost in all of it too, right? So here I was faced with a significant thing here. It was either I keep pleasing society and keep sacrificing myself to nothing to take care of my son forever, even though it's less than ideal, or I do once and for all what's best for everybody involved and surrender him. I chose the latter. That was my catalyst. And it wasn't like the day after that happened, I woke up and said, "Oh, wow, I'm not a people pleaser anymore." No. It was something that just slowly shed. I would find myself sticking to boundaries. I discovered what my boundaries were. I was able to say no more. I was able to take care of myself. I also wanted to make sure my daughter was given the care, the attention. She doesn't have special needs. I meant the attention she needed because she missed out on so much. And I wanted to do it for her because I felt it was Like I needed to be I needed to be there to help her, and like it was for me too, right? So I took care of myself, I took care of my daughter, and I took care of what I needed to take care of, and I started sticking to my guns more, and that's how I shed my egoism. I have no problem with telling people. I have no problem with telling people off. I have no problem with saying no. If I don't want to do a favor for someone and it doesn't get me anything, I will not have a problem with saying no. Sorry, I can't do it. I don't even have to owe explanation. So, yeah, that was my catalyst.
Wow. And when was that? How many years ago? Like
So
what?
that was in September 2017.
Wow.
Okay.
Hmm.
And how is
Yeah.
your son now? What is and
Oh,
how is
he's
the
doing
family
much better.
dynamics? Yeah.
He's
Mhm.
happier. He's he's doing really well. He's higher functioning now. He's
That's
getting the therapy
awesome.
he needs, and I wasn't able to give him anything. So, yeah, I've
Hmm.
been. I mean, most people have been supportive of me, but of course, there's the odd one says, "Oh, you should have kept him at home." It's like, screw off. No, I should not have. And you're
Yeah,
not in my shoes, and I don't have a problem with telling those. Don't judge those who you haven't walked in their shoes. You
exactly.
don't know. You wouldn't even last a day in my life. you know?
Yeah, you don't know what the
Mhm.
person is going through, like how difficult.
No.
Even like you just like a regular child that is throwing their tantrum is already, exhausting enough. I have three
Right.
boys, so I know it can get really. Imagine like someone who is like in special needs that really it can really drain you. I can imagine like it's tough. It makes everybody miserable. Everybody's sick. So you do what is best for your family, and if he's doing better as well, you did the right thing. I'm sure you did.
I absolutely 100% did the right thing, and I also did the best thing I could for my daughter too,
Yeah.
because she used to have anxiety about, am I gonna have to take care of him one day? She doesn't need to
Mm-hmm.
worry. She's gonna have the life that she deserves to live.
Yeah, that's
Mhm.
great. And so you also you mentioned about like I saw about spiritual bypassing. What is
Mm.
that? Yeah,
Yeah.
like like we
Oh,
don't.
let's talk about that. Spiritual bypassing, it also comes with toxic positivity. It goes hand in hand,
Mm,
right? So, spiritual bypassing is when you are told to ignore the real human emotions that aren't so pretty and
okay.
focus on everything positive, focus on doing spiritual things. Like, for instance, I'll give you an example. You're rightfully so depressed over, you're grieving over something that you lost, and it doesn't matter what it is, you're going to grieve. I mean, I grieve over the fact that I don't know what it's like to have a son, right? That to
Hmm.
relate to, I mean.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, that's an example. You're expressing the sadness that comes with grief, and then someone says to you, "Oh, you need to be more positive and you need to meditate more." Don't focus on those negative feelings. It's going to cause all kinds of bad things. You need to read The Secret. Oh no, The Secret's BS. We know that. Things like that. That's spiritual bypassing.
Yeah, because it gets to extremes with this whole law of attraction thing, Like some things I
Oh,
agree that it can work, but
yeah.
others, like, are you
Mhm.
gonna pretend that there's not like we don't have bad things happening to our lives? That you're gonna always have an amazing like we are here to learn so
No.
many different things. You're gonna go through ups and downs and just find the best way we can to react to things, But
Yeah,
like
and things
you're
happen.
telling me that you lose a child or you go through like a bad miscarriage or something. You're supposed to be okay with that, and it was kind
No.
of like, oh, it meant something bad. I don't know. I'm like, no, I can't see anything good in that situation. Like I had
No,
like you just move
and the
on. I mean, you can move on and forget. You're not gonna forget. It's a bad experience, and
Of course, but I also wanted to say that you didn't manifest those bad things to happen either,
oh
because
yeah, yeah,
that
uh-huh.
also is that's part of spiritual bypassing, and it's like victim blaming. I
Mm.
call it victim blaming that's wrapped in a spiritual toxic spiritual bow. It's like, oh,
Uh-huh.
what did you do to manifest that? You get into a car accident. What did you do to manifest that? I didn't do anything. Maybe you weren't think positively enough. No, doesn't work that way.
Yes, it's just so weird. I have such a hard time understanding that. Like we were saying, like a child that is sick, or like oh, she manifested that to her life. Like
Yeah.
how is that? How do you have? And then they said, oh, it's the parents who actually manifested that. So it's like putting the blame on the parents because you didn't have the right thought. So it can get it to like a very weird. I see there is a side that I kind of like, I believe and I agree, but there is another side that I'm like, no, I can't see that happening.
No.
Yeah,
The way I see it working is if you've got a goal and you're focused on the goal and you're taking the action steps, the proper action steps to materialize it, then that's where it plays a role. And you
right,
even can't get attached to it because maybe the outcome's going to look a lot different than what you had in mind at first, right? That's
right.
where it's valid. But otherwise, no.
Yeah,
Yep.
I agree with you. Glad you
Yeah,
talked
I
about that.
think. Yeah, I think everything you take to anyway you take to the extreme is not good. If something
Hmm.
bad happened to you, you cannot be positive all the time. You have to acknowledge it before you can move on. Anyway, you
Oh,
have to
yeah,
acknowledge your own
absolutely.
feelings.
You have
So
to. Absolutely.
and
You gotta honor your feelings, and
yeah,
they're not gonna be pretty. And yeah, so sometimes those feelings are gonna be negative. You gotta process it so you are able to move on eventually.
exactly. Yeah, with
Mhm.
time is
Yeah,
everything.
yeah.
So let's talk about what you do. You're a tarot reader.
Mhm.
I'm sure a lot of people are interested in this. So when did you develop that interest for tarot?
Okay. So I've always been interested in spiritual and metaphysical stuff, but I didn't really delve too much into it after I had my daughter. And this was it was around 22 years ago now that I started delving into it. But then over time, I just started learning more about tarot, astrology, and all that. And obviously, I wasn't able to put it in my all for, because of the fact I was stressed with my son and everything. But once he left, I was able to delve into it a lot more, and I started putting more effort into it, and I started building mediumship skills. It just built and just snowballed. So I most of the stuff I do, I make a living by writing. I'm a writer, so I do have some writing clients, but I do write about metaphysical content. I write for Ask Astrology and Chimera, and I've got a few private clients. So that's what I do most of the time. But yeah, that's how it just happened. And you know what? The intuition that you have, everyone has it, but some have it more pronounced than others, and then it's a gift that you just keep building. It's a skill you keep building. And I mean, some don't have it very strong and may not be interested in it. So it's like the same thing where you may be good at math and you may be motivated to be even better at it, but I'm one of those that just is not. So,
Okay, so because for me tarot it's really abstract. To be honest, I already
yeah.
had some people do tarot for me, and it's really abstract for me. It doesn't really talk to me. So if you want to do tarot every day, every morning you're waking up, you're doing your cards or tarot. How can it help you in your daily lives?
Yeah, so the thing with tarot is that, yeah, I mean, somebody who does not know a thing about it would find it very confusing. Understandable.
Mhm.
But do need to learn it. It takes time and it takes getting used to, and it takes having a connection to it for you to learn it. So the thing with tarot is that once you are used to the card, and once you have the relationship, once you have the connection to the cards, you will start developing the connection, and you'll start taking the messages to, you'll start whatever card you pull, it will go into you'll tap it into your intuition, and then you're going to say, okay, this is what it means, this is the message I need to hear today, kind of thing, right? So that's how it works. But then when it comes to reading for other people, you have to firstly, like I said, you got to learn the tarot, you got to develop the connection, and then work on your intuition, and then whatever query they have, whether it has to do with themselves, their life path, relationships, career, whatever, um you do a spread, and then whatever the cards tell you taps into your intuition. This is okay, this is what the message is. But I also want to make it clear that you can't predict the future with tarot. You
Okay.
can't.
I was
You
gonna
can't
ask
predict the
that.
future at all. I mean,
Hmm.
I personally believe that some
Mhm.
things are fated, but at the same time, you have free will. So, say, usually what I do is most of the time clients come to me and say, okay, I am wondering if this new job I started is going to work out. What should I do? Because I'm not really getting the feeling it's going too well. Should I give it time or should I look for something else? So I will then, what I will do is I will look at two different paths to take, whether the first path is to stick to the job and the other path is to start looking. So I will look and see what the likely outcome for both will be. So whatever looks more favorable is the one that I would guide you to go with, but that does not mean I am there to tell you to do it. You got to trust what you
Mhm.
feel. Don't take what I say as the gospel. I'm just giving you intuitive guidance. So if the likely outcome with staying at the job you're at is going to end not very well, then yeah, you may want to start looking. So,
Yeah, people need to remember that, that nobody can really tell the
no,
future.
no,
So,
no, you got to go with what you feel deep down, but it's good to have
yeah,
intuitive guidance. So that
yes.
way you have some seeds planted. So it's up to you what you want to do with those seeds, right?
Does
Yeah.
it take a long time to learn or to do
Yeah,
the
well,
talk?
here's the thing with tarot. You're going to learn about it for life. you
Okay.
know, it's like astrology. You never stop learning. You're always
Oh,
going to learn it. But you know when you're confident enough to start offering it as a service. So that you know that yourself, right? You know that yourself. It's like mediumship. I'm already able to do that. But just recently, because it took me several years to develop, but I'm always developing that too. It's you never stop learning.
okay.
Yeah, that's true.
Interesting. Okay. I didn't know that. So that's great to know.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, what do
Yeah.
you do for protection wise? Because I'm sure you do
Yeah.
so many readings. So, I think that's like a big key component of the whole thing to make sure you don't have
Oh,
unpleasant energies around you.
absolutely. Well, here's an easy one. And this, I mean, everybody has their own way of doing it, but call upon Archangel Michael. He is the master protector. Call upon your guides.
Mm,
Call upon your angels. They protect you. So I always ask them to protect me and to allow those who are really there for. If I'm doing a reading for somebody, I ask them to make sure, like to be a gatekeeper, make sure my actual guides are or their actual guides or their deceased loved ones are really the ones that are coming through. And when I'm done, I thank them and I say, please close the veil.
I see. Yeah. And do you do cleansing of the tarot cards as well?
Oh,
Do you
yeah.
do any? Yeah.
So yeah, it doesn't have to be that often. It doesn't have to
Mm.
be as often as, well, I mean, that depends on what you do. I mean, I do not want anyone touching my tarot cards. I'm
Oh,
the only one
yes.
who does. But sometimes a gentle knock on them, like if you're doing readings, like say if you're at a fair and you're doing a bunch of readings, just a gentle knock is enough to shake the energies out. But when there's a new moon as well as a full moon, even though the new moon there's no moonlight, but it's still cleansing energy. When there's a full moon, put the cards on the windowsill and let it cleanse. Now, don't do this during a lunar eclipse or a solar eclipse because that can interfere with the process, right? But
Yeah.
that's what yeah. But, if you're not doing readings all the time and if you're not having back to back clients, which I do not want because I will get drained, then you don't need to cleanse that often.
I see. Yeah. Because I did a tarot course a couple of years ago and I have the tarot deck, but I don't use it as often. I'm more like I work with the clairvoyant part. I'm a clairvoyant reader, so I'm more into that. Like I use that way more that skill
Hmm.
than the tarot readings. And I barely touch it, but I'm wondering like should I just have like cleanse it even though I'm not using it? Sometimes I feel intimidated by the tarot as well, the cards, you know.
Sure, I understand. Sure.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
like, should I even
Hmm.
like bother? Like, I'm not gonna understand. So it takes a long. You're right. Like, it's a process. It takes a long time to
Hmm.
learn and to really like identify with the cards and know the true meaning, like what it's trying to tell you. Yeah, I
Well,
mean, it's great. I
yeah.
love it, but it takes
You're
time.
going to be guided to what fits you as well. Like for me, I am not at all interested in learning about runes. I'm not at all interested in learning palmistry. Um, there are just some things I'm not interested in. So you just
Yeah.
got to go with what you feel is right. I would never get into necromancy. No, thank you. That's
Oh, what is that? Like, wait, I've
eh,
heard of
Yeah,
it.
what is it?
divination with the dead, basically.
With a dead
Oh,
Divination
body?
with yeah,
What?
not necessarily dead bodies, but anything like it can be bones, anything like that. So
Oh,
it's a little too out there for me. So
yeah. We don't need to go
so
that far.
what do you know?
Inviting weird energies.
People
I'm
working
sorry.
with bones? People working with bones?
Yeah, well,
Or?
that's another divination as well, but you like actually using the dead for divination
Oh,
purposes. Yeah, and I'm like, no,
okay.
thank you. No, 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 no,
Uh-uh.
no,
No.
no, 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 no. There's that term gets a little confused about. I'm not going to say it here. It gets confused
Mm.
with the other one that's very inappropriate with the dead. I'm not even going to say it, but anyway.
Okay.
Yeah. But anyway, no, there are just some things I am not interested in. So I stick with tarot, just no tools too, like clairvoyance. I do that.
Mhm.
And I just stick with I don't do astrology as much as I used to. At first I was only doing astrology readings, not so much now. Um mediumship, like those are the things I stick with because otherwise you're going to get I mean, there's others that do animal communication. I think that's a really nice skill, but I'm not really interested in that. Like, with my mediumship readings, I will get pets that come through as well, but that's the extent of it, right?
Right. Yeah. They come send a
Yeah.
message, but yeah.
Yeah.
So, for you? What do you consider like the biggest misconception about tarot when
Aha.
people come looking for you?
Well, oh my goodness, there's a lot to talk about there. First of all, I blame Hollywood.
Oh
I
yeah, I'm
blame
sure
Hollywood.
they suck.
It's not evil. You got a new movie out too, and it pisses me off. It's about it's about demonic forces. Tarot has nothing to do with that. Not reputable readers anyway. But I blame Hollywood because of how movies and TV shows that used tarot that had tarot in it were depicted as evil and or just something so like ominous. No, 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 no. That's that really does make me mad. The other thing is that there are fraudulent workers that use it and misrepresent it. So I blame them too. And that doesn't
Mhm.
exactly help with the image. So what tarot is, it's a tool. It's a tool to give you guidance. It's not there for magic powers. There's no magic powers with it. And you don't even have to be a witch to use it. Anybody could use it. And
Mhm.
the other thing is that you don't even need to only use it for divination. You can use it for self-reflection. You can use it for creativity. I'm creating something for bloggers because I'm a writer, right? For bloggers, using tarot to help stimulate some ideas so they don't have to deal with writer's block anymore. There's so many things you can use for tarot. So, and I do like the fact that there is more information about that. In fact, so many religions, especially Abrahamic religions, shun tarot because of the divination aspect. But I'm starting to see more and more Christians, for instance, using tarot for self-reflection and for growth. It has nothing to do with divination. I'm actually happy to see that. And you even have a few authors, Christian authors, that wrote about it. So it's like I'm happy to see that because the thing is, even though I do use it for divination, I understand not everybody's going to be comfortable with that, but I'm happy to see that because it helps dispel those myths, those dangerous myths about it.
Yeah. Yeah. It is just like
Yeah.
those misconceptions, those how do you call it, labels that people put on it, and then you talk about like, oh, it's tarot, and everyone's like, oh, just because of
Mm-hmm.
movies or like stories, and yeah, I feel the
Yeah.
same way because
It's crazy for sure. For sure.
yeah.
Yeah, it's true when I think about it now. When I think about tarot in movies, it's always bad. If there was a witch with a crystal ball and
Oh, that too.
saying
Yeah, I don't
something
use crystal
bad,
balls. No crystal ball. I mean,
Yeah,
well,
who
I mean,
uses crystal ball? I've never seen one.
the thing
movies.
the thing about the crystal ball is that it helps some clairvoyance. It's a tool for some clairvoyance. It can help them It can help them scry, and they can start to see what's going on beyond the veil, kind of thing. And I mean,
Mm.
for me, I don't need it. I don't need it, but it's just a tool, and that's another thing that has been misused, if you will, because of Hollywood. So
Yeah.
Unbelievable. um, so you mentioned something earlier about echoing, for people pleasing. I never heard that
yeah,
term before, so it's really interesting and it makes
echoism.
sense. Echoism,
Yeah,
yeah. Sorry,
echoism.
I said it in French. Sorry.
No, it's
My first
okay.
language.
No worries. I
So,
understood exactly what you were saying. So
yes,
echoism is an extreme
echoism.
form of people pleasing. So yeah, I just wrote a book
Yeah.
last year about using tarot to actually that's another use for tarot to help
Mm-hmm.
yourself move beyond echoism so you can see why you're struggling to set the boundaries and say no and find out why you feel you need to be a people pleaser. So that's how tarot can help you self-reflect with that too. But echoism, yeah, and the one who introduced me to that term, his name is Dr. Craig Malkin, and he wrote several books on echoism because he used to struggle with that as well. So again, that's extreme
Mm-hmm.
people pleasing. Now, here's the thing though. You've got a spectrum. You've got extreme narcissism, NPD, which is a diagnosed personality disorder. That's the extreme end where you only care about yourself to the point that you're going to not even care about anyone. You have no empathy. You don't care who gets hurt as long as your needs are only met. Now you got the other extreme, echoism. And that's not a diagnosed, it's not, no one diagnoses you with echoism. It's just what it's called. That's at the other extreme where you have no sense of self. You're only there to serve others. You don't want to be in the spotlight. So that's your needs don't matter. That's what you believe anyway, because you were made to believe that. And anyone who dealt with a lot of scapegoating or bullying, etc., would be at risk for ending up as an echoist, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the happy medium is to be in the middle, which is a healthy dose of narcissism, where you're still empathetic, but you're not neglecting your needs and you're putting yourself first if that means that your needs have to be met in order for you to help others, right? Because what good are
Yes.
you going to be to
Mm-hmm.
anyone if you're depleted? Because what happens too with echoism, you keep putting your needs last, you're there to please everyone else. You're going to grow very angry, resentful, and bitter, and eventually you're going to explode, and it's not going to be pretty.
And
Exactly.
tarot help you with that because you're talking in your book. You're talking about tarot helping you. I mean, the title is overcoming, echoism with tarot.
Hmm.
So tarot help you with that in your
Yeah, well,
personal
tarot
life.
can. Now, I mean, tarot was not the thing that brought me out of it. It was that catalyst that brought me out of it.
Yeah.
But,
Yes. Yes.
however, in order for you to look deeper, you could use tarot to help you
Okay.
understand eh, why you may struggle with it. Now, here's the thing I need to really put out there is that tarot is not a replacement for therapy. It can be used in conjunction to therapy. But if you're dealing with extreme trauma to the point that you struggle so much with it, but you know that you need to make a change, tarot alone isn't going to help you get out of it. Okay? You need to
Mm-hmm.
work with a professional. I'm not a
Yeah.
professional. I'm not a mental health worker. I'm a mental
Mm-hmm.
health advocate, but I'm not a mental health worker. You need to work with a professional to help you move through it. But tarot is a really good tool in conjunction with the work that you're doing in between sessions, right?
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good to know.
Yeah.
Um. So here in that show, we're really interested about reincarnation, Sylvia and I.
Mm. Hmm.
And I was reading in your blog, you had that post about reincarnation. So you're talking about pre-birth planning
Mm.
and how you
Yeah.
design your
Okay.
life before reincarnation. I mean, like, can you explain like quickly? I'm sure it's a big, subject,
Oh,
but
yeah, yeah, for sure.
if you can, yeah.
So this is totally separate on the things that we've been talking about, but
Yes,
I'm
yes.
I'm
It's for
very happy
myself.
to. Yeah,
I
for
want to
sure. I'm
know.
happy to discuss it. So I mean, everyone's going to have their own views of reincarnation. If it doesn't fit with you, then just ignore, kind of thing, right? But the thing is, I firmly believe, and I do know that we do we come back? We have many past lives. The ones who know that reincarnation is a thing realize that. The ones who don't believe in it are newer souls. So of course, it may be true for them that they really haven't had any or many past lives, right? Maybe for them it's not real because of that. But the thing is, when you're an older soul or a mature soul, you're going to have had many past lives, and you may end up with more difficult time because of accumulated karma, and also just knowing that you don't fit in. Because I have a medium friend who said, well, 1 out of 5 people here are older or mature souls. The rest are newer souls. So that's why it's very hard for older or mature souls to fit in, right? It's just the difference is between a mature soul and an older soul is that the older soul is more at peace with not fitting in than the mature soul. And I'm a more of a mature soul between mature and older. So that's also why I had a lot of strife in my life too. I desperately wanted to fit in, but I don't anymore. I say screw it. You know what? There are benefits to being an outcast. There really are. Not when you're in high school, there's not, but later on, you start to see it. I just, honestly, I really don't care about having a new fancy car or a new fancy house. I don't care. I don't care. I wear what's comfortable. I don't care what's in style. I mean, obviously, I want to look presentable, but I don't care. So, so anyway, back to reincarnation is that, yeah, I mean, you do, like, the purpose of the soul is to just find enlightenment, right? But I'm not sure how realistic it is because everyone's going to make mistakes. You're here, you're going to make mistakes. So, whatever mistakes you didn't rectify, you'll have to rectify in a future life. Now, I also want to make it clear that you do not plan, when you do pre birth planning, you don't plan traumas that involve abuse. You don't. And I'm really, really tired of fake mediums gaslighting you into believing that, right? I've gotten to so many fights with them, like so many ugly fights, because I'm not going to put up with that. And then they try to gaslight me. I'm like, yeah, no, not working. Then they end up blocking me on social media. I'm like, okay, fine. You know that I'm right, so you couldn't handle the truth. But
So,
anyway,
excuse me, to explain. So you think that people, some those medium are saying that the trauma that happened to you in your life, it's kind of your own fault. You
yeah,
pre-plan
basically that's
that.
what they're saying. Yeah, like I said, it's a
Abuse, of
that
course, yeah.
that's another and I've written so many articles about that. That's another toxic spiritual platitude that's basically wrapped. It's victim blaming wrapped in a toxic spiritual bow. Okay. But here's what I think does happen. If you do have a lot of karma banked up, you're going to have to find a way to balance it. And if you have negative karma or if there's been some imbalances with someone in your life that you need to fix with, you're going to be having to deal with them. It's called a soul contract. But you're not going to know how that's going to play out. I mean, I've talked about this before. You can think about it as, you're about to play. Like, talk about 2 football teams, Team A and Team B. Okay, Team A and Team B, their mission is to conquer one another. Okay, so the soul contract would be to conquer one another, right? But you're not going to know what that's going to look like. So, you could end up getting hurt by the other. You could end up getting you could end up getting seriously injured by the other, but that doesn't get planned. It just happens. But you've got others on your team that are supporting you, just like you have to have like soulmates, pillars, and all that to help you, because if you're completely alone, you're not going to last. So that's my take on it.
All right. Well, maybe we need to just make an episode on that because that's really interesting.
Yeah.
I have 1,000 questions
Sure.
on this.
Oh yeah, like I said, there's so much information about that. Yeah.
I know. Yeah,
Mhm.
definitely. So if people want to know more about it, they can go on your blog and we can give the information later and maybe learn about that.
Yeah.
Um, I have a last question,
Sure.
and it's also, sorry, it's not about tarot. It's something that a term I heard before because we interviewed someone before about twin flame, and she
Mhm.
was talking about the dark night of the soul.
Yeah.
She explained to us what it was, but and now I hear that term like on different platforms for different things.
Yeah.
So what does it mean for you?
No, the dark night of the soul is actually an existence. It's basically a crisis.
It's a
You don't know why you're
crisis.
here. Yeah, I
Okay.
can't pronounce that, but yeah,
You don't know
it's a
why you're here.
crisis. It has nothing to do with an entity. No, it's not that. It's basically it's usually triggered by something traumatic or a huge disappointment or something, and
Okay.
then you're at a place where you don't even know what your purpose is. It's not the same as depression, even though it looks like depression, but the thing is you don't even know what your purpose is. You're there to you're basically there. You know you need to search, but you may not be in a place where you're able to, kind of thing. But once you get through it, then you start searching and then you find your purpose. But you can go through
Mm.
several of these in one lifetime. There isn't just one. I'd say
Oh,
everybody at least goes through one at some point.
okay. Makes more sense now. And I
Yeah.
understand why she was talking about that in her case. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
That was more clear for me.
Okay,
Thank you.
good. Good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It has nothing to do with a being, an entity. That's a whole other discussion, which has nothing to
Okay.
do with it.
Need another hour for this.
Oh, wow.
Sylvia, do you have another question to add before we go? Or?
No, I think you covered everything for us. So it
Awesome.
was awesome. And how can people find you? Like,
Yeah.
can you tell
Well,
us about what you offer as well for them?
yeah, absolutely. So my site is miriamreadstarot.com. I'm also on Instagram, Miriam Reads Tarot. I'm also a frequent writer on medium.com, Ms. Mir, SMSMIR, mir.medium.com. I do once a week readings and sometimes occasionally other times during the week if there's like a new moon, full moon, etc. on Substack, miriamreadstarot.substack.com. I also have a podcast, The Tarot Table, and that's on Spotify, Apple, Amazon Music, etc. So I'm basically all over that.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
great.
This
Yeah.
is
So, oh yeah, what do I offer? Well, tarot readings. I can offer astrology readings if you really want one. I don't get too many requests for that because I don't really focus on that too much, and mediumship readings. And I'm also a writer, so if you need some writing services, as long as it's in the metaphysical niche, let me know and I can help you.
Interesting. Okay, we
Yeah,
put all those information in the show notes, of course. This way you can, listeners can, reach you if they need anything from you.
yeah,
Perfect.
absolutely.
Well, thank you very much for this very enlightening, conversation. I
Well,
learned a
thank you for
lot.
having me. This was a lot of
Yeah,
fun. Thank
yeah,
you
so
so much.
much,
definitely.
Miriam. It was great.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you. Bye bye.
All right, guys. That's it for today. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to High Vibes and a Mic. Until next time, keep learning, growing, and exploring. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube.